Boker Tov Rabotai. I want to tell you something about the laws of Kiddush on Shabbat. On Friday night, when you come home to make Kiddush, it says in the Shulchan Aruch that you should do the Kiddush right away. Don't wait, don't procrastinate. Do it right away. Because it's a mitzvah to make the Kiddush right away, to bring in Shabbat, to give kavod to Shabbat. That's number one. Number two, what kind of drink should you use? What kind of wine should you use for Kiddush? So the truth is, that the best thing to use always for Kiddush is wine, right? Not any other drink. Not liquor, not beer, right? None of these things. The best thing to use is wine. And also the best thing is to use red wine, right? Because it's considered to be higher quality. So a person should always try to have red wine for Kiddush, right? If it's possible. That's the best thing. But if a person, doesn't have, let's say, wine, so what does he do at night? He should make the Kiddush on the bread, right? On the challah. How do you do that? You do netilat yadayim, right? You say the Kiddush and make hamotzi. That's the Kiddush for the night. If you don't have wine, if you don't have grape juice, right? Nothing like that, right? That's the way you do it. In the morning, what about in the morning? Can you make Kiddush in the morning with challah, with bread? So the answer is no. Why? Because they say the poskim, it looks like just like you're making hamotzi, right? What are you doing special there? Nothing, right? Just making hamotzi. So it doesn't look like you're making Kiddush at all, because there's no extra bracha there like there is at night, So therefore, it's not proper to do it that way. You cannot do it that way. It's not proper. So what's the proper thing to do? If a person doesn't have wine, what should he do? Use liquor, or use beer, Make shakol. Baruch, right? Savri ma'anan. Baruch, shakol niyavid baruch. Right? That's what you do if you don't have wine, right? Hopefully you do have wine, but if you don't, right? That's the way to do it. You make shakol and then you make hamotzi, right? That's the way you do it in the morning. Because as we said, right? What about Havdala? Right? So also same thing rules for Havdala. If you don't have wine, you should always try to use wine. Red wine. If you don't have, then what do you do, right? You can use liquor or beer, make shakol. The same thing, right? For Havdalah. Same thing applies over there as well. Okay, let's go on a little bit, right? So then you have also the issue of white wine, right? What about if you don't have red wine, but you have white wine? What do? You have Chardonnay, you're a Chardonnay guy, so what, are you allowed to make Kiddush with white wine? So the truth is that Shulchan Aruch paskins that you're allowed to make Kiddush with white wine, even though the Ramban holds that you cannot make Kiddush on white wine, but the Shulchan Aruch doesn't paskin like that. So therefore, as we said, right, better to use red, because then you're going according to all the opinions, But if you don't have red wine, use white wine. That's also wine, It's not the best, but what can you do, right? That's the way it goes. What about mevushal, right? Wine which is mevushal, pasteurized, right? Are you allowed to use that? According to the Rambam, you're not allowed to use pasteurized wine. Not for Kiddush and also not for Arba Kosot on Passover. But we don't paskin like that, right? Shulchan Aruch says you're allowed to use. You're allowed to use pasteurized wine. So therefore, if you're used to buying pasteurized wine, mevushal, so it's okay. You can use it. Everybody uses it. That's the minhag. We're not makpid about it. So therefore, you don't have to go crazy about that. Mevushal is okay. Okay. Now we're going down the road, right? Go down the line over here. What about wine which is made from concentrate? You know what that is, right? They dry it out, and then they add water back again, right, to make it into grape juice, whatever, right, something like that. Are you allowed to use concentrate? So the truth is, that most of the grape juices that we have are concentrate. Like Kedem, there is some concentrate in there. They do also make another line which has no concentrate. It's all like regular grape juice, fresh squeezed. So what's the rule? The truth is, there is a machloket about this, about concentrate. There is a machloket. But in the end, right, what we found was that there was a tshuva of Maran Rabbi Shalom that he wrote, when he was younger, about this issue, about concentrate. So he writes over there, it's published in the Yechavedat, in Chelek Zayin, which is a new Chelek which came out after he passed away. They gathered some tshuvot of his, some old tshuvot, and published them. So over there he says you're allowed to use concentrate. So therefore if a person wants to use kedem, grape juice, he's allowed to use it. We have no problem with that. Even though there are some say who say that you don't have to, but the Shulchan Aruch seems to support, the psak of Maran, right? That you can make from concentrate. So therefore, if you need to make from concentrate, no problem, What's the reason why? Because it tastes just like grape juice, it has the same taste, has the same, same properties. So what's the problem? What's the big deal? You can use concentrate if you have nothing else. And also, even if you just like to use it, for some reason, whatever it is, right? Maran told us, he told us, for Arba Kosot, on Passover, what did he use? he used grape juice, because he didn't like to drink wine. When he got older, the wine already gave him a nice big headache. So he couldn't tolerate it. So what did he do? He used arba kosot. He used grape juice. So here also, if you want to use for arba kosot, because you cannot tolerate wine, you want to use kedem grape juice, you can use it. Baruch Adonai leolam, amen ve'amen. Rabbi Chanan kashomer, tzak kadosh baruch hu lo zokot Yisrael, yaticha akir ba lahem Torah mitzvot, shenamad Adonai chafetz, למען צדקו יגדיל תורה בידיר.